We're going to go on mute because we're driving.
Yeah. If everyone could go on mute, that'd be great. Vanchakalpas tubias cha, kripa sindubhyeva cha, patitadam pavanabhyo, vaishnavabhyo namo namaha, om gyantiramandasya, Ganjana Salakya Chakshun Militam Yana Tashvai Shigare Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Girata Shivasadi Lord Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Welcome, brothers and sisters, uncles and aunties. I don't think I can call anyone grandpa or grandma. I'm too old now to do that. On this supremely auspicious day, this first day of Kartik, this very auspicious day of the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivedanta Kesava Goswami Maharaj, our Param Gurudev. The first time we've done a Kartik Parikrama on Zoom. What did we call it? A Zoomikram. Is the first ever. Very warm welcome to everybody. I'm just going to remind everybody what the format is. So on the day before each day, Tridandi Maharaj is sending out his class on the next day. So yesterday you got today's class, today you get tomorrow's class, which gives you the opportunity, if you have time, to listen to it in advance of this Kartik Live program. And then on the Kartik Live program, one of the sannyasis, Nemi Maharaj, Bhagavata Maharaja, Tridandi Maharaj, Shamrani, Ashram Maharaj, and I think others will join. We'll do a 15 to 20 minute sort of intro on the day, and then it's over to you for spontaneous questions and answers. Because Zoom can be quite a chaotic environment if everybody goes unmute. You can imagine it will be bedlam. What we'll do is when we get to the questions and answers, I'll respectfully ask the devotees to chat to me, not to everyone, just chat to me their question. And I will then ask that question on behalf of the devotee. Obviously, I'll mention who the devotee is, so that there can be some management of the Q&A process for Maharaj to kindly expand upon. So we've only got 1 hour, so I don't want to take up any more time. Very happy to introduce Srila Bhagavata Maharaja, who's very kindly agreed to open the batting, as we'd say in cricket in England. I don't know what you say for baseball. So I'm going to put myself on mute and welcome Maharaj warmly to the first day of Kartik 2020.
Antrakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvaya vicha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om jnanatimirandasya gyananjana salakaya chakshura militam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. So there's so many amazing things happening on this day. So many powerful things happening on this day. But in honor of our Srila Gurudev, whose focus was always on Srimati Radhika, because Srimati Radhika is called Urjeshwari. And so this entire month, Gurudev used to remind us, this month is Urja-vrat. This is the month of Radhika. And Urja means power or Shakti, and it also means Bhakti or Prem. Srila Gurudev used to emphasize that Radharani's power, her Shakti, is what drives all the pastimes that we celebrate during this month. It is Radharani's power that drives the Ras Leela. Today is the Sarad Ras Leela. So it is Radharani's power that drives the Ras Leela. When she leaves the Ras Leela, then Krishna leaves also, and the whole Ras Leela collapses without Radharani. So it's her power and it's her prem, the prem that creates the atmosphere for Kartik, because we're trying to get that prem. Srila Gurudev reminds us that actually Krishna is the taster of the prem, but the prem itself comes from the heart of Srimati Radhika. She's the one. And so therefore, in this month, we concentrate on worshiping her. And her Shakti, or her power, drives, for instance, the lifting of Govardhan Hill. It is by the power of Srimati Radhika that the hill is actually lifted. Krishna desires it to be lifted, but it is Radharani who lifts it. It is Radharani's power that's lifting it. And also, many other important pastimes are performed this month. Krishna kills Aristasura, and then he creates the Shama Kund and the Radha Kund are all created during this month. Another important pastime. He killed several demons during this month, and Aristasura is chief amongst those demons that he kills. So this is another important pastime. We also celebrate so many important acharyas this month. Bhakti Daitya Madhav Maharaj appeared during this month. Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj left during this month. Srila Bhakti Siddhanti Maharaj, he left during this month. Our Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada left during this month. And of course, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj left on this first day, this Sarad Purnima day. He left during this month. So the predominating deity of this month is Srimati Radhika. It's all about getting her prem. She's Damodari. This is Damodar month, but this is Damodari. She is Damodari. She's the one who is giving the prem this month, and it is to her that we worship. And we also worship Damodar this month in the pastime with Mother Yasoda, in which we do the candles every morning and every evening, offering them to Radha Damodar and praying with great devotion that we can get the kind of spontaneous love that allows us to have that intimacy with Sri Krishna, the way Yasoda and the gopis have with Krishna. They're very intimate with Krishna. The intimacy builds on several levels as we go through the different stages of the different relationships that each devotee has with Krishna. In Dasya Ras, where there's servitude, then there is opportunity sometimes for the servants of Krishna to dress him and to massage him. Then in Sakya Ras, the hands-on relationship increases, where there's wrestling and fighting and the sharing of food. And then in Vatsalya Ras, Mother Yasoda is actually giving her milk from her body to Krishna. And then in Madhurya Ras, we have the position where the gopis are actually serving Krishna, all of Krishna's senses with all of their senses. And within Madhurya Ras, we have Manjari Bhav, which is even higher, in which they're only arranging for Srimati Radhika, because no one satisfies all the senses of Krishna like Srimati Radhika. So they're engaged in always arranging for the meeting between Radhika and Krishna, so that Krishna's senses can be fully satisfied. And in return, Radhika broadcasts the ecstasy that she experiences during this time, which in turn is felt by the Manjaris in a way that is beyond even Radhika's own experience of pleasure in her relationship with Krishna. So we have so many wonderful pastimes that are going on every day in this particular Ras Leela. In this particular Ras Leela tonight, Saradiya Ras is understood to be Saradiya means the autumn season, and the other Ras Leela is Vasant Ras, which is in the spring. And one of the primary differences between the two Ras Leelas is that in Saradiya Ras, only both Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha gopis participate in this Ras Leela. This is actually a training ground. Srila Prabhupada talks about how those who successfully perform devotional service, this is 28th chapter of Krishna book, paragraph 6 or 7, that those who successfully perform devotional service go to Vaikuntha when they leave this body. But when a mature, pure devotee completely executes devotional service, he goes to the planet where Krishna is performing his pastimes. And in that universe, he goes to that universe where Krishna is doing his Leela. And in that universe, he gets trained up to go to the next level. So there is the Sarad Ras is very special. The Sarad Ras Leela is very special because the Sadhana Siddha gopis are being trained. There are a number of personalities that go to a number of devotees who come to Krishna's traveling pastimes in the universe that he's performing them in. And when they come here, they're not yet very perfect. In fact, Srila Gurudev talks about these gopis in his commentaries in his new book, Ras Panchadhyaya, and he brings out the commentary of Jiva Goswami, where he says that some of those gopis are actually defective. And the one of the Sadhana Siddha gopis, that is. And then the Tika of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where they're in Bhav, and they have to develop their prem. They have to develop their prem by associating with the Nitya Siddha gopis. And in their association, then the moods that they're trying to develop for Krishna become more prominent, more intense, and then they become qualified, so that on the night of the Ras Leela, when he plays the flute and he calls the different gopis, then so many of the gopis come and they try to satisfy Krishna. There's this one conversation in which Krishna says to the gopis that they should return home, that they've left their families to come to see him. And they said, we've come only to give you pleasure. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur defines bhakti like that. He says the tendency to give pleasure to Krishna is bhakti. And so the definition of what the gopis are doing is bhakti. This is pure bhakti, and this is all driven by Radharani's desire. Radharani wants to develop this prem in everyone. She wants to develop this ecstasy of Krishna consciousness in the Ras Leela pastimes with the gopis and Krishna. And so she helps to train up the Sadhana Siddha gopis. She and Lalita and Vishaka and the other senior gopis train up the other Sadhana Siddha gopis so that they can participate in the Rasa Leela. And when the flute plays, they leave their husbands, they leave their fathers, they leave their brothers, they leave all the other persons. The only ones who don't leave or have a hard time leaving is the ones who've had children. And this is explained by Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in their commentaries, that because they enjoyed a relationship with their husband, there was some defect in their training by the Nitya Siddha Gopis. And so their ability to join into the Rasa Leela was impeded. Their husbands locked the doors and made it impossible for them to leave and go to the Rasa Leela stoli. But what happened was, when this happened, then these gopis recognized their mistake. These sadhana siddha gopis recognized, oh, we made a great mistake. We made this mistake to think that after so many births, we finally came here to be on the planet with Krishna and to associate with Krishna, and we got diverted. We got diverted from our Ananya Bhakti, our one-pointed devotion to Krishna. They went into their beds and they meditated very deeply in their heart. Gurudev explains how by this deep meditation, they burned up the last vestiges of material contamination that was inhibiting their ability to achieve that prema, which is very subtle. It's very, very subtle material contamination, and that they removed that, and by removing that, they joined into the Ras Leela on another night. So in this way, they get the opportunity to eventually be with Krishna in the Ras Leela. So this Ras Leela is very, very special. There's so much more I could speak about it, but I wanted to spend a little time talking about Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And the fact that when Rohini Devi, who is Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's auntie, she spoke with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and asked him, you're talking about all of this preaching that you're going to do and temples you're going to open and so many things. Who's going to do this? Who's going to help you with this? And he said, Vinod Bihari, pointing to Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. So Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj was always the person that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada pointed to or was counting on to do that particular service of organizing and managing things for Srila Saraswati Thakur in the Yog Pit. We have that story of Srila Sridhar Maharaj when he first came and he saw that this white cloth brahmachari was sitting on a chair with his feet up, and all of these saffron cloth brahmacharis and sannyasis were coming, offering obeisances and asking instructions from him, and he was giving them orders and sending them off to do different tasks. So he was shocked and amazed that who is this person giving instructions even to sannyasis about what to do and what not to do. And this was Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's right arm for organization, which was Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. And Prabhupada used to do the same thing about our Srila Prabhupada, about A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, how he used to say, in time, he will go and do everything. He will preach. He will be the one. He will go to the West and do everything. On several occasions, he made this statement. And so one is the preaching arm and one is the organizational arm. And Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj was the organizational arm. And Srila Prabhupada signed the document with him to start Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti because that was the arm. And Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj did so much to unify his godbrothers. He was the one who took Narahari Seva Vigraha into the ashram. He was the one who got land for Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj so he could make an ashram. He did so many services to help everyone in the practice of devotional service. And the establishment of Bhakti, because he was a unifying figure, a unifying source. He tried to create unification and bring people together in the service of Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta. And he used to do so many amazing things. There are so many amazing pastimes with Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Goswami Maharaj. Am I going too long, or have I gone past 15 minutes yet, or?
Yeah, take a few more minutes, Maharaj. 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So, the stories are legendary of all the wonderful things that Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Goswami Maharaj did, especially the pastime in which he saved Srila Saraswati Thakur from being killed by the Navadvip Brahmins and Goswamis. And what he did there was he came and when the Navadvip Brahmins and Goswamis tried to kill Bhaktisiddhanta, all of the devotees fled in different directions. But Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj had no fear. He immediately grabbed Srila Prabhupada and brought him to the house of a grihasta to be protected. And this is the beauty of his devotion to Srila Prabhupada, that he would not allow anyone to hurt Srila Prabhupada. And then when he brought him to the Grihasta's house, he gave his white brahmachari clothes to Srila Prabhupada so that Srila Prabhupada could go back in disguise and no one would bother him. And he took Srila Prabhupada's danda and sannyas outfit so that if any harm would come, it would come to him. He would return dressed in the sannyas outfit with the danda, and he would take responsibility to suffer whatever was going to be any trouble that they were going to try to give to Srila Prabhupada. He was going to accept that trouble. So like this, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj was fearless. That's why they called him Acharya Simha. He also did so many court cases to defeat different people in order to establish the principle of bhakti and to establish Krishna consciousness. And there are many, many, many great stories, legendary stories about Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj, how from the very beginning, when he was picked up as a child by an eagle and dropped on a log in the river, and he was saved and was understood that this boy had the protection of Bhagavan, of Sri Krishna. So like this, we see that there are many great personalities during this month of Kartik who disappeared and left this world. And there are also many great pastimes of Krishna which are performed, like the lifting of Govardhan Hill, the making of the Radhakund and Shamakund, and the killing of certain demons, and the Ras Leela, and so many wonderful pastimes of Krishna which are performed during this month. So we have great opportunity during this month because it's Urdhva-vrat. Urja meaning Radharani, Urjeshwari meaning praying, and Shakti, we can get spiritual Shakti and power. We can get praying from executing our duties and devotions during this month of Kartik. So we should take this opportunity to try and make advancement during Kartik Mas. This is just a general overview of the months and of the day. And please forgive me for any mistakes in my presentation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. One of the things that came across strongly in the first part of what you were talking about was, and what I really got imbibed with, and maybe this will come out in some of the questions that are about to be asked, is how important Kartik is for developing our mood towards Radha and Krishna and towards Bhakti in general. Maybe we can expand on that later. I'm going to open this out to all devotees to ask questions. So just two requests, if I may. One is please keep it to something relevant to do with Kartik. Self-evidently, that's what we're absorbed in here. So please keep it to that. And secondly, just ask me the question. I will say who it's from, unless you ask me not to, and then I can communicate that question to everybody, and that saves for those who came late just to explain. So rather than unmute and have the chaos of everybody talking at once, if you communicate the question to me, I'll then select one and ask Maharaj to give us share his wisdom with us. Thank you. So opening up to all the devotees, please ask Maharaj a question. Okay. No, we're getting them. Don't worry, Maharaj. Chandrika Devidasi's asked, my Dandavat Pranams, Prabhu. Oh, that must be to me. So Dandavat Pranams to you, Maharaj. Please, will you ask Maharaj, thanks, Chandrika. Please ask Maharaj, how do we especially worship Ujeshwari this month?
Well, worshiping Srimati Radhika would be through, we chant that prayer, the Radha Kripa Kataksha Nam, that one. Srila Gurudev used to have us chant that prayer every day during Kartik. And in that prayer, all the glories of Srimati Radhika are explained, all of her beauty and power and mercy and everything that is glorious about Srimati Radhika is explained in the Radha Kripa Kataksha. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that's the one that we used to sing on a regular basis every single day during Kartik. So the way to glorify Radharani is to sing that prayer of Lord Shiva, which he taught to his wife, Uma. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. You've heard it before. And in this way, you get the mercy of Srimati Radhika. Also, to go to Radhakund on the day that Radhakund manifests. We go to Radhakund on that day because this is the ultimate place of Radharani. Radhakund is even dearer to Krishna than Radharani herself. It's a very dear place. This is considered the topmost place of all the holy places. In fact, Srila Prabhupada points out in his commentary about Radhakund in the Nectar of Instruction, which is the Upadeshamrita, he points out that no other Sampradaya, none of the other four Sampradayas, only the Gaudiya Sampradaya worships Radhakund. That Radhakund is a very exclusive place, which is only worshipped in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. It's very special. So worshiping Radhakund, worshiping Srimati Radhika with the Radha Kripa Katakshaka, these are the ways that we glorify her and get her mercy. Does that answer your question, Chandrika?
Beautiful. Thank you, Maharaj. Yashodhara, you have a question?
Dandavat Pranams, Maharaji. I just have a really quick question. You explained to me, I know my phone's gonna keep going off. You explained to me about, or in this class, that about Urja-vrat, about Radharani's taking a vow for Radharani because she is this month manifested. But would you be able to explain the difference between Urja, Kartik, and Damodar-vrat, and what are the significance of each vrat?
No.
Or is it the same thing?
What Gurudev is saying, he makes these pronouncements in his talks. He's always talked about how this is the month of Purushottam Mas is Krishna's month. And this month is really Radhika's month. She's called Urjeshwari. And so the entire month is called Urja, and the tapasya that we do is Urja-vrat. And he explains how Urja means power. And he points out that Krishna only wishes for things. He cannot do anything to fulfill his wish. The doer is Srimati Radhika. She is the one who makes everything. She fulfills all of his wishes. She executes everything. And so therefore he makes this point. In one place he talks about the Brahma Gayatri, Savitur Varenyam. Urja Shakti is the source of the light of the sun. So even the sun's light comes from Radha. So Radhika is Varenyam in the Gayatri mantra. She's Varenyam, and she is worshipped even by the sun itself, who gives heat and light. So it's very important to understand her particular position in this. He also says that, another thing that Gurudev says about Radhika is that Urja means bhakti or praying. So that's all what we're looking for. We're all looking to have Krishna praying. And we know that Krishna actually comes to Radha to find out what prema is. He comes to her to understand what her love is for him, what is the sweetness that she sees in him, and that she alone sees in him, that no one else can see in him. And also he goes to be in her mood so that he can understand the ecstasy that she tastes when she's having loving affairs with him. So all these things, this is verses by Swarup Damodar in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these things are there for the purpose. All these things are desires of Krishna. Krishna has the desire. Krishna wants the prema. He himself wants to taste the prema. He can't. He is the relisher of love and affection, but that love and affection comes from Radhika's heart. It's not something that is there in Krishna without Radhika. This is why he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, Gurudev would go to the point of saying that Krishna would not even exist or remain alive without Radhika. He would be Nirvishesh Brahma, the formless qualityless spirit whole. This is why Radhaji, he says, is Urjeshwari. Without worshiping her, we cannot achieve Krishna. And this is what Bhaktivedanta Thakur says again and again in his songs. He talks about, like in that Shatakoti Gopi song, Krishna says, I'm only here in Vrindavan because you're here. And in that other song, he talks about how the footprints of Radhika are in Braj, and he comes here to get her foot dust. So Braj is really about Radhika. Braj is really about Radha Prem. And that's why we're here. We're here to get Radha Prem. So this month especially, Gurudev says, is Urja-vrat. It should be, not that we don't worship Damodar, or that it's not Damodar month, or that it's not, we don't do these things, but we should, in this particular Ras Tattva conception, all right? You have to understand there's always these different conceptions. And so in these different conceptions, just like Advai Gyan Paratattva. In Advai Gyan Paratattva, nothing is separate from Krishna, nothing is equal to Krishna, and nothing is superior to Krishna. This is Advai Gyan Paratattva. But in Rasa Tattva, Krishna takes off all of his crown and his jewels and everything and lays it at the feet of Radharani, and she's superior to him. So there's always multiple ways of looking at this from different facets. And so, yes, by calculation of the calendar, this is Damodar-vrata. And this is the month that we worship Krishna during Damodar. We worship Radha Damodar. We worship Yasoda Damodar. We worship Damodar. We do all these things. But from the Rasa Tattva perspective, it's Urja-vrata. And it's the worship of Srimati Radhika and trying to get her prem and her prem shakti so that we can make advancement in our spiritual life. So both things are there. It's simultaneous. It's not one thing only.
Thank you,
Does that
Maharaj.
help?
Yes, that helped a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. We've got a question next from our dear God sister calling from California, Manini Radhadasi. Haribol, Manini. You need to.
Haribol. Yes, I was able to. Dandavat
How are
pranams.
Dandavat
Maharaj.
pranams,
Nice
Manini.
to see you again.
Nice to see you
Haribol.
also. How are you?
I'm really, really well. Actually, this is my first, Kartik, and first time really celebrating these things. And I actually had a question about Urja-vrata, which you already were answering. One of my additional questions is that my understanding, Purushotama month only comes like once every 3.5 years, right?
Yes.
But this is within the context of Chaturmasya as well. And I just wanted to kind of understand this Urja-vrata relative to that, as well as the role of Yamuna Devi, because I understand we make a Sankalpa with Yamuna Devi, and also there's additional worship of Tulsi Maharani. So I know that Yamuna Devi is like Vishaka as well, but if you could speak a little bit more about just how we can incorporate all of these things and what to really put our attention on and our mood, I would appreciate it.
Everything is moving toward Radharani and Krishna, to their prem, to their loving exchanges. Everything is moving in this direction. Vrinda Devi helps Krishna with all of this. In all of these pastimes, when Krishna is trying to meet with Radharani, Vrinda Devi is assisting him. There's so many stories. I could spend hours just telling the stories about how Vrinda Devi helps change Krishna into a flower girl so that he can give flowers to Radharani, or into a female barber, so he can paint the toes of Radharani, or into a Shivite sannyasi so he can beg for her man, or covering for him when Radharani leaves the house, saying to Mother Jatila that I'm going to go and take baths in the Yamuna River during the month of Magh, and take a cold bath and offer the fruit to Abhimanyu, your son, so that he'll have a long life. And instead, she's in the kunj with Krishna. And who's watching that kunj so that no one comes to surprise them? It's Vrinda Devi. She's there. So we worship Vrinda Devi because of all she facilitates the pastimes. Yamuna Devi facilitates the pastimes because she provides a refreshing bath to Krishna and the gopis. After they do Ras Leela, they all enter into the Yamuna and they bathe there. Also, the Leela where the gopis are bathing in the Yamuna naked as young girls, and Krishna comes and steals their clothes. And then he says, you have to come out before me and offer your respects to me. And they come out covering their top and their bottom like this. And Krishna says, oh, you made a great offense to the Yamuna. You have to put your hands over your head like this with your palms. And so like this, Yamuna Devi is assisting him in doing these pastimes, in which he's getting more and more intimate with the gopis, more and more intimate with the gopis. And so
That's
there-
very helpful. That's very helpful because now, I mean, I know the prayer for Tulsi Maharani and Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna
Yeah.
Priyasi, you know, Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu.
yeah, Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eabilasi Namo Nama Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Nama. So we worship Tulsi every day because she does so much to facilitate the pastime. So this is actually, you know, from one perspective, there's a Greek word called henotheism. And you know, monotheism is where you worship this one God, okay? And polytheism is where you worship many gods. But henotheism is where there's one primary God, Krishna, that we're worshiping. And then there's other deities that we also worship because they facilitate our service to that one primary God. And that's what we do. So technically we're henotheists. We're worshiping that one supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, but yet all of the personalities surrounding that, like Radharani, like Tulsi Devi, like Govardhan Hill, like this, like that, so on and on and on. All of these personalities, Purnamasi Devi, we worship Purnamasi Devi because what does Yogamaya do? Yogamaya is the one who makes it possible for these pastimes to be had. She even covers Krishna so that Krishna doesn't know that he's the supreme personality of Godhead, and he thinks that to go and see Mother Yasoda, he has to crawl out of the bed and turn around and hang his body from the top of the bed and then come down. He could just fly out of the bed if he wanted to. He's God. But she covers him so that he doesn't taste that Aishwarya, and he actually gets to taste the intimacy of being the child of Mother Yasoda and enjoy that pleasure. It's all about Krishna, giving Krishna pleasure. The tendency to give pleasure to Krishna is bhakti. This is what we're doing. And everyone who facilitates that, Yogamaya, Vrinda Devi, Yamuna Devi, everyone, they're all special. They're all special. And Radharani. Radharani is giving pleasure to Krishna. No one satisfies all the senses of Krishna except Radharani. She's the one who satisfies all of Krishna's senses. So we worship all these other deities, these personalities, because of what? Because the one deity that we're worshiping, Krishna, is the one is the one personality that is being satisfied by all these personalities. They're all offering their pleasure to him. They're all offering their service to him, facilitating giving pleasure to Krishna. So this is where they all come in.
That's fantastic. And you actually answered another question inadvertently that I had too, because a friend asked me about my faith and was like, are you monotheistic? And I was like, you know, I didn't know quite how to answer. I just thought of a beta tattva, you know, but the henotheism makes complete sense. The way you explained it, I've heard of henotheism before, but I really appreciate your explanation of that. And then I'd just like to ask Bhagavata Swami if you would just say one word about Chaturmasya in the whole scheme of things, because I know that I've heard it told, I think from Srila Gurudev, that, you know, the whole 4-month celebration really culminates with this with Kartik. So
yes, these 4 months are the 4 months of the rainy season. And it's the 4 months every year where you perform extra austerities. Like in the first month, we don't eat any leafy green vegetables. In the second month, we don't eat any yogurt. In the third month, we don't drink any milk directly. And in this month, there are so many restrictions like sesame seeds, sesame oil, mustard seeds, mustard oil, eggplants, also tomatoes because Gurudev doesn't eat tomatoes, so we follow what Gurudev does, and we don't eat tomatoes during this period. And all of these things. I remember we would have a special feast the day after Kartik, all the sannyasis, and we'd cook a big tomato sauce. So the year I came, because I'm Italian, I was the one who cooked the tomato sauce the first year. And we would have fun like this, you know. So all of these things are prohibited during that. So the idea is you shave only twice. You shave on Guru Purnima at the beginning of the first month of Chaturmas, and you shave again 2 months later, and then you shave after. And so this year, what I decided to do, as you notice, I have quite a big beard here, is that I didn't shave for the whole 5 months. I'm not shaving for the whole 5 months. It's a special vrat, and I'm not shaving for the whole 5 months. Trust me, it's uncomfortable having this big shaggy beard on your face, and your ability to eat without swallowing hair and all that other stuff, you know. But you know, it's a tapasya, and it's something that I decided to do this year, which I never did before. So this is the first year that I'm doing it. Even my nails, you can see I'm not cutting my nails and all of that. So
Well, thank
I
you
have
so
nails
much.
to die for.
Thank you for addressing my questions. Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Thank you,
welcome.
Didi. Beautiful, great questions. Thank you so much. Actually, if you want to impress the parents or the in-laws or the university professor, you can add one more word, and you can say that we are polymorphic henotheists. Because, yeah, that's going to blow them away. Meaning polymorphic for everybody, meaning many forms. It's a beautiful vision. Fantastic. We have coming back to sunny England. Oh, not so sunny. And we have Budara with a question. Budara, welcome.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavats.
Hare Krishna, Budara and Lolita.
I'm really sorry that you find that your long beard is such an austerity. I, on the other hand, I really love having something to hug in the like this. So I'll teach you.
You have something to hug.
I'll teach you how to do that. Anyway, my question is. We know the pastimes of Mother Yasoda tying up baby Damodar.
Yes.
And how much she went through, how much distress she went through in order to do that. And we know that eventually the gopis came to her rescue and started also offering her as I understand it, ribbons or pieces of cloth that she could use to lengthen the rope.
Yeah.
So do you know where that final piece of ribbon came from that was able to finally tie up Damodar?
No. I don't know.
Just asking.
Huh?
I thought you might know.
No, I don't know where I mean, I think that was a pastime mostly with the senior gopis, but the younger gopis may have been involved in that as well. But I thought my understanding was that was a pastime amongst all the senior gopis. It was Vatsalya Bhav.
Yeah. Okay.
But I really don't know who provided the last length of cloth. My understanding of this Leela is that Krishna finally had stretched her devotion to a point where she was so intensely desirous of accomplishing this. Her Vatsalya Bhav became so intense that I have to do this. I have to tie him up. I have to accomplish this. And when she was no longer able to, when she was not able to do this and she became completely frustrated, then he granted her wish. He granted her wish because it's also how to say, it's a kind of, is it a metaphor, a simile about how we try to develop our bhakti, our devotional service, and what we have to go through to develop our devotional service, what we have to go through to develop our Krishna consciousness, and the intensity which we have to have. Because they point out in the commentaries how even the great yogis can't capture Krishna in their heart. The Gyanis can't capture Krishna in their minds. No one can capture Krishna. But she did it because of her bhav, because of her love. And
So actually Krishna was helpless, wasn't he? It wasn't like he's granting, he's like, he has to do it.
yes.
Right.
So that's bhakti. Well, yeah, technically it's Bhakti Devi. You know, again, going back to Manini Radha's question, who are all these personalities? Bhakti Devi is independent. She's completely independent. And her desire to fulfill the wishes of her devotees depends on the intensity with which we try to acquire that bhakti and the mercy of a sadhu. Of course, she already had that mercy from so many births. So now she was in the position of being directly in relationship with Krishna, and all that mercy came to fruition, in which she now achieved the ultimate goal of her desire, which was to tie up the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to wrap a rope around the belly of the personality in whom she saw the entire universe in his mouth. How do you wrap a rope around the universe? No way to tie down the whole universe, but she's tying down the universe. How is she doing it? Through bhakti, through praying, through love, through urja.
Margie, we have, I think, time for one final question. Thank you, Badar.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Haribol.
Budara, Haribol.
We have one final question from our lovely godbrother Ruben in London. He asked me to ask the question. He's asking, Maharaj talked about the sweetness that only Radha sees in Krishna. What is that sweetness that Radha only sees in Krishna? Please, could you elaborate on this point? We got 5 minutes, Maharaj.
She sees the sweetness of Krishna everywhere. When there's a dark cloud coming by during the rainy season, she sees Krishna. She sees a tamal tree, black tamal tree. She sees Krishna. She sees the bamboos and she thinks of the bamboo flute of Krishna. Whatever she sees, somehow or other, she connects to Krishna. It reminds her of Krishna. This is a kind of sweetness that she sees in everything. Krishna's sweetness is there in everything for her. Krishna is there in everything for her. There's no way, there's nothing that she sees that does not remind her of Krishna. And so in this way, she sees the sweetness of Krishna everywhere. No one has that kind of vision. No one has that ability to see the sweetness of Krishna in every single item of the world. She has that vision. She has that ability to see that sweetness and taste it, not just see it, but she tastes that sweetness. And Krishna is, Gurudev used to say, Krishna is the sweetness. He's the sugar. And no one can taste that sweetness. He can't taste that sweetness himself. He cannot taste that sweetness himself. So therefore, unless he comes to be in the mood of Srimati Radhika and understand that mood, he cannot understand what it is about himself that is so sweet that Radharani can see, that wants to taste that sweetness in everything that she comes in contact with in the world. Does that answer your question, Ruben?
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Ruben.
It's very kind of you.
It's my service. Gurudev gave me this information. I have to pass it on.
Maharaj, that's beautiful. You've really, what is the baseball equivalent for opening the batting?
That's the leadoff hitter.
The leadoff hitter. Okay, great. Do I sound American? Well done for being a great leadoff hitter. I don't feel very authentic saying that. That was just fantastic. I was completely absorbed the whole time. I hope all the devotees really loved the presentation from Maharaj, but also great questions. And what I loved about that was that I just didn't know what the next question was going to be. So I really enjoyed the spontaneity. I have a couple of questions, but we've run out of time, so I'll have to take them offline. So thank you, Maharaj. We're going to sing Dambarastakam in a moment, but I'm just going to hand over to Yeshwadari before I introduce our wonderful bhajan singer, Radhika Didi.
Dandavats, thank you so much, Maharaj, for being the first speaker and explaining our vrat to us and going through it. Just for devotees, so that you know that Tridandi Maharaj has sent tomorrow's class now.
It's off for video.
So Tridandi Maharaj has sent tomorrow's class today, so you'll have access to that. Tomorrow we have got Srimati Shamarani joining us to do the same thing that Bhagavata Maharaja just did. So if you have a listen to what Sripad Tridandi Maharaj sent, and then if you have any questions in addition to that, I'm sure Srimati Shamarani will try her best to answer those questions as well. And it will continue like this. We've got Sripad Nemi Maharaj, we've got Sripad Ashram Maharaj and Sripad Tridandi Maharaj coming up, and then there'll be a new rotation of speakers, including the speakers that we've heard today. So just want to say thank you for taking time out of your diaries to join us in celebrating Kartik-vrata, and may everyone's Kartik vrats be successful. And I pray that Param Gurudev and Srila Gurudev give us the mercy and bless us to be strong to continue our vrats and make it a success. Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna, Dandavats. Radhika Didi, thank you so much for agreeing to sing Dambarastakam for us.
Thank you for giving me some seva. Yeah, if you don't all have the book, definitely a recommended read. In the songbook, Damodarastakam is on page 290. Namami Shwaharam Sachidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Yashoda Viyaluka Ladhavamana Paramrishtamatya Tatadruta Gopya Namamishvara Satchidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Rudam Tomohor Netra Yugma Mrijata Karma Jayugnena Santam Kanetra Musvasakampa Rekha Kadanta Stita Grevadamo Dharam Bhakti Badham Namamishvara Satchidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Iti Diksvalila Bhir Ananda Kunde Swagashamima Janta Akya Bayanta Padiye Sita Nisha Bhakta Jitata Puna Prematasa Sataveti Vande Namamishvara Satchidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Varam Deva Moksha Namoksha Vadima Nachanya Vineha Varasada Piha Idam Deva Purnata Gopala Bala Sadame Manasai Rastam Kimane Namamishvara Satchidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Namadeva Dama Dharananta Vishnu Prachida Padukha Jala Vimana Kripa Drishti Brishyati Dinam Vatanu Grihanesha Magya Etati Drisha Namamishvara Satchidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Kuveratma Jobhada Mutraiva Yadva Tvaya Machita Bhakti Pajapita Tatha Prema Bhakti Swakame Prayacha Namokshe Graho Mesti Damodareha Namamishvara Satchidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Namaste Sundane Spuraditi Dane Tadiyadalayata Vishwasya Dane Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namamishvara Satchidananda Rupa Lasat Kundala Gokule Brajamana Namo Radhikaya
Priyaye, Namo Radhikaye, Tvadiya Priyaye, Namo Natalilaya Devaya Tubhyam, Namo Natalilaya Devaya. Radha Damodara, Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Damodara, Radha Damodara. Jai Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev, Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Param Gurudev, Gurudev, Param Gurudev, Jaya Param Gurudev, Jai Param Gurudev, 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 Param Gurudev.